Get ready to quit the build.
Here we go.
The QTB crew is rounding up all the gaming news and hot topics of the week with a little extra something. And here are your hosts, Bruno, Brad, and Nick.
What it do? You're listening to the QTB podcast. I'm your host, Bruno. With me, as always, the Brothers McMuffins. We got Nick. We got Brad. We're here. 2023 is about to go down.
Oh my gosh. Welcome in. And I mean, listen, it's
Nick,
we finally got there.
Bruno thinks it's the first episode of 2023. He forgot that he wasn't here last week.
I wasn't here last week, so it's
none of
my
us were here
first
last week.
episode of none of us were here last week.
Brad doesn't even remember.
Oh, that's right.
We took a week off.
We did. This is the first episode of 23. Yeah, there we go.
I mean, we're all listen. In your defense, Brad, there's that stretch between like Christmas Day and like a couple days after New Year's where everything is just a blur. It's like a time avoidance space.
As you two know, but our listeners didn't. I was just on the wheel of sickness for 2 weeks, so yes.
So was Bruno, yeah.
Mine was a blur.
Partly
why we weren't here last week, because we were just, limping into the new year. And you can tell mentally, I thought we recorded last week. That's what I thought. So,
well, the last episode, Bruno wasn't here because we were joined by guest. Of course, Aaron Gray.
So it's been a while for me. Yeah, because
it's been a hot minute.
The COVID, it dialed up. It was like, I didn't want to answer it. I didn't want any part of it. It wasn't on my wish list, but somebody decided to give it to us, and thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Fluffy Bunny says, and I waited up all night to listen to you guys. I tell you, we tried to put out the content. Honestly, it was also a very slow news week last week. Like, not a lot was happening, nor does it typically around this time of year. So, but we do have some very exciting news stories to get to. But one thing I do want to mention for as far as our QTB network news, big shout out to our network musician Beat It that just released their new Lemonhead album, and I've been listening to this. I've got it on Spotify. It's a beautiful, beautiful blend of EDM styles and influences coming together in an album that I say it looks sour, but it sounds sweet. Okay,
wow.
So give it a try. It's available on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. Just search for Beat It. That's BEATETTE. Add it to your Spotify rotation. Whatever you got going on. Great music, great tracks.
Support the network.
And a great artist. Support the network. One of the many people featured in there. Only musician though, dedicated musician featured there in the QTB network. Good stuff. And of course, guys, we got to go around the horn here. With the usual weekly question of what you've been playing. I mean, Bruno, you've been off the pod here for a little while. What's over the holidays and beyond? What's Bruno been up to?
I have been getting back into the sim rig. That's one thing that I do really like is it kind of takes me back to, especially if I can't really go anywhere because I'm not supposed to, right? Because if you're quarantining, getting out in a virtual race car and kind of, hitting the pavement is a lot of fun. And I gotta say, I just picked up a new car from RSS, which is Race Sim Studio. They're still making modded vehicles and whatnot for Assetto Corsa, which is amazing to me that there's still a company out there that's still making content for this game that hasn't been supported by the official developers for years now. And there is a new Porsche P919 tribute, essentially. It's called the P91 tribute. And this thing is an absolute rocket ship. It's basically like they took a Le Mans car and they basically said, let's throw out the rule book and see how fast we can get this puppy to go.
Space.
And that's what we need. We need the space one. Where's it at?
Space.
Where's Tim Curry?
Oh my gosh, this thing is a rocket ship. You press on the gas and it just takes off. It is absolutely incredible. But you can see the actual car run around the Nordschleife track, which is in Germany. And for those of you who have never seen this track, like the average lap around this track is somewhere like 11 minutes. Okay, this card did it in 5 minutes. Okay, it was hauling butt cheeks. Butt cheeks is what it was hauling, Nick, okay? Just saying.
Alrighty. Hey man, gotta go fast, and it's I can speak from experience that both virtually and in real life, you're a monster on the track. So that's the game for you. Fun to see, and man, it's you got to play what you love, and you got the hardware. So my gosh, man, get into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now, Brad, I know you joined us. Both you, Bruno, and Brad joined us for some Fortnite there on stream this week.
I'm loving the
those dubs.
Loving the weekly Fortnite streams with our community. Love joining in, playing with some of our followers, with our subscribers. Those are always a blast. And we got to get the dub. I think we ended up with 3 or 4 or 5 wins on Sunday. I mean, that was a good night for Fortnite. So I mean, gotta love the team camaraderie and squads. Squads are so much fun. I think one round we had as a team collectively 30 to 35% of the overall kills in the round. So
I looked at it, it was like 21 or something like that. And then I was about halfway through our game, which, guys, shout out to Aaron, because he definitely survived the onslaught of trolling that I did to him when he joined our party, which is basically like, if you can stand to be with that, then you can stand to be with this, because that might happen. That might happen accidentally, okay?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
This was a purpose. I loved using the impulse grenades, just kind of threw them at him, and then he just was like, you know what, I'm going to dance it out. And I appreciate that. See? Pass with flying colors.
but Nick, when I'm trying to maybe just kick back, relax, or when I wasn't feeling well, I need something to kind of just stimulate the mind, I dove into the Game Pass, and you know what I found? Bejeweled 3. I'm just saying, I pulled Bejeweled 3 out of the pocket, and man, let me tell you that I can get lost in that for a couple hours, man. I fully beat the quest mode 100% last week or this past weekend. So. When you're looking for a solo player, you're just trying, and it's got like this weird like zone out Zen music playing in the background. It was quite relaxing, and I've been playing that on the side, and I'm working to try to beat that game 100% all the way through every mode, get platinum, all the extra achievements. I'm trying to beat it all the way through, and it's been a nice departure after some Fortnite. So.
That sounds like your first completion run, Brad. Is that, have you ever done that before? Okay, what was your first then?
Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
I knew it was going to be that. I knew that was the one.
You threw me a line. Man. I a long time ago, I completely 100% all the way through every side achievement, every side story, every searchable item. I sailed the seas, and I completed Black Flag 100%. So... but for a single player, this type of nature with like certain challenges and having to like stack certain builds and like get it like build up achievements. Yeah, Bejeweled 3 has been a nice little find in the Game Pass. I mean, shout out to Game Pass. You can find so many different things in there when you need it. So how about you, Nick? What you've been streaming, man. You've been hitting. We've got Curbs days now. I mean, tell us what you got going on with the stream.
Our stream schedule has never been better. I mean, we've got the coolest theme days that I've the best schedule we've had so far, I think. So yeah, we got Curbs days on Thursdays. We're starting with Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. I'm going to do a 100% playthrough. I have beaten the game before, just not on TikTok, but I didn't also do everything in the game. So we're going to be doing a full run through. Viewers loved it. Obviously, Kirby and I, we got history now at this point. So it was inevitable. Also, we have on Fridays, that's going to be our dedicated Fortnite stream, our Fortnite night. Friday Fortnite night's what I'm calling it, because you got to have a name, you got to have a gimmick. And then Saturday is going to be our chill kind of ASMR. I'm calling it Soothing Sim Saturdays. It could be like a chill game. It could be a sim game. We have a lot of requests for games like Unpacked or a House Flipper. Since we've already gotten through Power Wash Sim. Yeah, just nice games you can kind of relax and vibe with, right?
Did you see that pool simulator is coming out?
The pool cleaning simulator.
Pool cleaning simulator I'm pretty sure it's from the makers of Power Wash Simulator.
I'm just gonna put nothing but chlorine in that pool. That's how you clean it.
Well,
just chlorine. Just pour it in.
Nick, if you're doing house flipper, I need some design ideas. I might be watching what you're doing and taking a few notes for the house here. So I'm definitely tuning into that.
There you go. I'm not the guy for that. Interior design has never been my thing, but I'll be good at cleaning, but not designing.
Okay.
And then on Sundays, of course, our big Fall Guys streams. That's a staple for us on TikTok with those custom lobbies. And then Mondays are Poke Mondays. We're playing Pokemon Violet right now. Been having a lot of fun. I'm trying to be the very best, man, but Pokemon Violet, the open world nature of that game, it's a complete game changer because you can just walk into the wrong zone and just be like, wow, I got to get out of here. Oh, yeah, I can't run away. Okay, I guess I lose now. It's Sword and Shield was easy to get through because it was very linear, but this is like, it's like, hey, the world is your oyster, but like there's some bad oysters. So be careful which one you shuck.
It's true, because I try and stick away from seafood.
The bad oysters will get you, man. You don't want those.
And Nick, I'm pretty sure one of our stories tonight involves Pokemon. So the fact that you're playing that, I'm getting anxious about that first story. But
yeah. And also, I do want to get in. I've been doing a little bit of mobile gaming. I don't normally do this, but Vampire Survivors was released on mobile, and it is free to play. There is no monetization aside from you can watch an ad if you die once to get revived. That's it. Like, there's no in-game currency. And I played probably a good 20 hours of this game for free. Nothing going on.
Wow.
The game is brilliant. If you haven't played Vampire Survivors, I recommend the mobile version. It's an easy way to get into it because it's you're just moving a joystick around. There's nothing complicated about the game. Brilliant. And there's a reason why a lot of people, it was like their indie game of 2022. I'm definitely hooked on it. If you haven't tried it, after one playthrough, you will get it. So check that out as well. So it's been a busy gaming couple of weeks for me here, both between streams and offline stuff. But yeah, we do have to get into a lot of big stories here since we got some ground to cover. But before we do, as always, I want to thank our amazing sponsors over at the Winner Winner Live Arcade. Guys, live trivia has been better than ever because your boy over here has been hosting it every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm doing live trivia where if you can get all 12 of my gaming-themed questions correctly, you win a ticket jackpot of 50,000 tickets. Trust me when I say you can get some nice prizes in that redemption center for those tickets. All you got to do is answer my questions. So if you haven't already, make sure you download the Winner Winner Live Arcade. If you are watching this on our live stream, the message is pinned, and it's also in our show notes or description if you're watching or listening afterwards. Check it out, guys, and don't forget to use promo code WHATITDO. That's all one word, WHATITDO, when recharging your tokens at pay.app.winnerwinner.com. You'll get a sweet deal with 45% bonus tokens, one of our hottest promo codes ever. It's been extended through January, so make sure you take advantage.
Let's do it.
Get those bonus tokens. A deal so nice we did it twice. And of course, head into the live arcade. Check out those claw machines. Get those wins and get those prizes you can take home. They'll ship right to your door when you win. Choose from hundreds of prizes, even thousands of more prizes in the winner's circle. Again, thank you to our amazing sponsors at Winner Winner Live Arcade. Man, I get that background track just makes me want to sell something. Put something in front of me and let me go.
Ice to an Eskimo. Just right there. You got it.
Big summer blowout. Big summer blowout.
I still got it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what made the internet blow out, and that is this next story coming from MSN.com. This is, you would think it's breaking news, and it kind of is. There you go. Okay. The story's coming from MSN.com, but it's been all over the internet talking about this Fortnite and Pokemon fan trailer crossover that fooled the internet, collectively.
Yeah, everyone.
Went viral. Brad fell for it. I almost fell for it.
Did I fall for
because,
it? I sent you guys both. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. I'm losing my mind in all caps. And I reshared it to you guys 50 million times until you watched it. And I was all giddy, and I was like, this is incredible. And I was about take my money. I was ready. I was about to buy the $90 V-Buck pack. I was ready to go.
Yeah.
But then he learned
Yeah.
Not real.
Not real. It looks convincing though, and that's because it was made by a very popular content creator that made this mashup trailer. It almost looks like maybe some claymation or something was used to create the Pokemon and Ash's style. But I mean, Bruno, when you first saw this this trailer or heard about this, like, did any part of your brain like try to talk you into thinking it was real?
Until I saw Ash, like because the opening looks just like a Fortnite video, so they did a really good job in that respect. But as soon as I saw Ash, I was like, oh yeah, this is a fan made thing. This is not actually going to happen. And I'm sorry to disappoint anybody out there who is hoping that maybe someone will see this and someone will change their mind. Like that is a dream that you can keep on having. It is not gonna happen. And we'll get into that. We'll get into why it will never happen. But I mean, it's always cool to see something like that. Honestly, though, and I'll say this and pass it over to Brad. I want to see two IPs make their way into Fortnite, and that's Power Rangers and TMNT. And I think if you do a fan-made trailer with those two, I think you could sell it. I think you really could sell it. Those are two IPs that I think could benefit from Fortnite. I think you could see him if you're going to see Batman with a gun, then just about all bets are off the table, except for obviously Pokemon, which is never going to happen. So I think that, maybe someone out there could, pull some strings into a fan-made trailer of one of those two. I think it'd be a lot better. Brad, obviously you were hoping for the full Pokemon release. What was your thought on this?
Well, I have to say I fell for how well that trailer was made. I mean, it definitely the way it
they caught him.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even shake 3 times. That was a one shake and star. Like I was in. Like
Brad has been added to the Pokédex.
Yes. I mean, but Bruno's right. You watch that intro, it feels from the moment it opens like a true Fortnite like trailer clip, and then all of a sudden the way they integrated Charizard and then Ash and Pikachu showing up, I had a momentary like doubt when I first saw Ash. I was like, ooh, that doesn't look as clean as it should for Epic. But I was like, oh, maybe it'll look better when he's in the game or like when they're in the game. And I'm like, oh, Pikachu will be his back bling. Like I totally was like thinking of the item release, the item shop of what was going to be there, and not so much is this real or not. So definitely disappointed. Hook, line, and sinker had me, but the more we started to break this down, pre-podcast, I was, really started to make sense on why we'd really never end up seeing this crossover as much as we'd want it in Fortnite. And so maybe Nick, you can set the table and kind of maybe get us started on why you maybe agree with Bruno or don't on will we ever see this crossover?
This is the only time I think I can ever think of in the very lengthy group chats and one-on-one DMs in Facebook where you've ever sent me something in all caps and it was holy crap. Along with the link. I'm like, Brad never sends something in caps. This has got to be huge. And so I watch it, and I had instantly known that it wasn't a thing because, and it was Courtney, it's in live chat right now, that it sent me not that direct trailer, but something similar that was alluding to something like this. And I'm thinking like, I don't think that's a real thing. I'm pretty sure it's a fan trailer. And we had just talked about before about somebody had sent in a fan trailer. I think this is what Courtney sent me, not the Fortnite thing. It was a Mario Kart trailer, but with like all these other Nintendo IPs like Kirby and what have you. And it looks very convincing. It's so easy these days to create trailers that look like the real thing that, especially in the era of, AI art and, AI is even heading into video territory where you have to be very cautious about what you see. And when I saw what you sent me, because I watched it first, I'm not going to jump to conclusions, and once it reached that point where it zooms in on Ash, I was in the same boat as Bruno. When I first saw Ash, what I thought was, okay, Ash looks like maybe almost like a claymation thing, but maybe that's the art style they could take it in. What gave it away for me was Pikachu. Pikachu did not look good on his shoulder. I'm like, no way. That ain't it.
Let me take off my rose-colored glasses. I completely missed it. Nope.
Exactly. But here's what I'll say is that I don't see this ever happening. Pokemon is not in a position where they really need to be heading into crossover territory in order to monetize. Pokemon as a franchise, I think it's the largest franchise. When you go into video game only stats, it's a different world. But when you talk about the actual value of an IP, from trading cards to movies, you name it, Pokemon's in it these days. Merchandising is huge. That they can pull that money lever a billion ways, and they don't need to rely on another company to do it, right? Why put Pokemon in Smite when they can just release their own Pokemon MOBA, right? Pokemon Unite's been very successful. They've got the resources and the wherewithal to make that happen. So, my thing is that Nintendo is anti-violence, right? Nintendo is very family friendly. That's always been their thing. So there's never going to be a time where they say, let's put Pokemon, let's put Ash Ketchum, let's put a Charizard, whatever, a humanoid model like Lucario, whatever it is, Mewtwo, and let's give him an assault rifle. Let's give him a pistol. Even though Fortnite is marketed as a family-friendly game, you have to remember at the end of the day that you are wielding real-sounding and real-looking, to an extent, weapons, right?
Yeah.
It's not like other games where you're using like an arm cannon for Mega Man or Samus Aran. This is a different ballpark. Bruno, that's the right. Do you agree with that line of thinking that violence, from a perspective of gun violence, could be a big detractor?
Oh, I think it's the number one detractor for Nintendo in general. If you look at their track record, the only shooter that we were talking about, in the pre-show was Splatoon. Right? And that's not even a gun. It's a squirt gun, right? It's shooting out ink. And I think that's easily an indication of where their values lie and what they're willing to do and not do in terms of, any game. They've given Mario a squirt gun in Mario Sunshine. They've allowed him to throw his hat in Mario Odyssey. So they do have that beat 'em up style aspect to a lot of their games, but and Super Smash Brothers is a great example of that. But there are certain, I think Nintendo is very protective over their IPs and the universe in which they live in. And that's also the other big factor here. I think that for Nintendo, they're very closed off and allowing these characters to interact with each other. And the only time they do really is in Smash, right? That's the only time we ever see them really interact with other, aside from something like Mario and Sonic at the Olympics or Mario versus Rabbids or what have you. But to jump to an entirely different universe in general, it just doesn't seem on par with what Nintendo has done previously, and it just seems like it's one of those things where, like I said, it's a great thought to think about, but like Nick said, I could see them being like, you want a Pokemon Battle Royale game? We'll give you a Pokemon Battle Royale game. I think there are ways that you can do it. I recently played the Pac-Man 99 on Switch. Loved it.
So much fun.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Right. So you can make a battle royale out of just about anything.
Really
and
can.
I feel like, Pokemon, instead of going the Fortnite route, would just simply say, we're going to release our own version. And it's going to be catered exactly to Pokemon fans. Brad.
Devil's advocate moment here, folks.
Yes.
So
Here we go.
Waiting for it.
Branding.
One if they went for, plug that. One if they went for an approach that's never been done before. So we talk about, I heard both of you say, anti-violence. Nintendo doesn't want to be associated with a game with guns, or even Bruno, like I said, a different world, a different atmosphere, a different world that you would live in. One if they didn't actually produce a skin, a character that carried the gun. One if they only did things in the item shop like a back bling or a pickaxe, something that didn't associate itself directly with violence, but was something that you could wear to support you as a fan of Pokemon. Like Ash's backpack, or that had like a Pokeball on the side of it, or something that could be Pokemon, centric, but not be like you're not having to play as Ash or play as Brock or Misty or Mewtwo or whatever, but like still have some exclusive, and it would be an epic or legendary level cost content in the item shop that you could accessorize with on your characters.
Well, I think that is a more possible route than giving a character a gun. However, you said the word exclusive, and Nintendo loves that word, and they would love it if you could only get that on Nintendo Switch, right? Like I could see maybe
then
down the road,
wouldn't that be like the old skin that was the Samsung? Remember the Samsung skin a long time ago? Then it would be like, buy the new Switch, download Fortnite, get an exclusive Pokemon back bling or something.
Yes. However, to play devil's bradvocate to devil's bradvocate over here, the devil's bradvocate squared. Basically, I would say there's no need for Pokemon to do that, right? Like, what benefit does it have?
Buco bucks. They have all the leverage with Epic. They could sign a major contract. That's the one time Epic, because Epic's got basically unlimited money, right? So they could pay Nintendo insane amount of money just to do that one type of exclusive event. It would be huge money. And you could cross promote it if they were launching a new Pokemon game or something. It's tied to that marketing release. Like, you could streamline that business deal that it would be profitable and make sense from a financial standpoint to Nintendo.
Yeah, definitely. But I think Bruno's point definitely is where I'm thinking of it, is that there's already been an example of what Nintendo thinks about crossovers in multi-platform games, and that is Rocket League. When Rocket League was released for the Switch, it is cross-platform. You can play with other Rocket League platforms. And when you download it, when you originally you had to purchase it on the Switch, it wasn't free to play yet. And when you did, you got a Mario hat and you got a Mario branded car, okay, like a decal. The caveat was that you could only see it if you were playing on Switch. So if I was partying with you or playing against you, and you're on the Switch and you have those things equipped, when I see you, it just defaults over to like a different like generic hat and a different generic car with none of the Mario stuff actually on it. So as far as they're concerned, it doesn't exist. So even in that mode of here's an opportunity to have your Nintendo branding appear on other consoles, Nintendo said, And I think when we get into our next story about, companies making accessibility-minded peripherals, there's one company that still hasn't or is not planning to, and that's Nintendo. They are the first to just say, you know what, walled garden, we're going to stay in here, and if you want to come to us, great, but we will not come to you.
They probably would argue that their controller is accessible because it's so funky. They'd be like, oh yeah, it's already accessible. What are you talking about?
So
it's
tiny.
Detached. Like it's but yeah, we'll get into that.
Don't kill my dreams, Nick. Don't kill them. I'm waiting for that crossover.
I wish you all the best, Brad. I wish you all the best.
As Bruno, I was like, how cool would a Samus crossover be too? Like that would be the perfect, the perfect crossover. And some of the like mobile emotes or like continual emotes, like rolling and like the Lara Croft ones.
You got a better chance of seeing Mega Man.
Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you, Bruno. Because the question that we have from Russell in chat right now is, what's your guys' dream crossover for Fortnite or otherwise that may or may not be possible? For me, definitely, I want to see Mega Man. In Fortnite, I want all the Mega Men because there's like 6 or 7 of them. I want Mega Man. Oh, yeah. I want Mega Man X. I want the Mega Man character from the Legends series. I'll buy them all. Take my money. Here it is. Dollars. Millennial bucks.
I already told you TMNT and Power Rangers, but for the TMNT, I want to see like I wouldn't mind paying for each individual turtle. But I want each individual turtle to have classic color variant and regular variant, right?
Okay.
And I want that all of their weapons to be able to be unsheathed and used as their pickaxe.
Of course.
Now, with that said, all of the elements are there. Right? All of the elements are there in terms of mechanics. Like they already have a staff. They already have a katana. They already have some nunchuck-like swinging maces that you could use for Mikey, and Raph. I mean, they have the knives, right? Like they have that. So it's really just a matter of time. I mean, if not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, then Power Rangers. Brad, where are you going with this?
Dodgeball.
I'd buy that.
Can I get
so
a White
fast.
Goodman skin, please? I've already got the emote.
You have to bring in a dodgeball.
I've already
you have to be able to throw a dodgeball.
I've already got
Instant
the emote.
elimination.
Yeah.
Unless they catch it.
Yeah, if they're gonna do a Dragon Ball Z like power up and you can throw that thing, I want a dodgeball power up. I mean, come on. How epic would that be?
Can I be Patches O'Houlihan?
Please.
In a wheelchair? Yeah.
Amazing.
We'll squad up. We'll have the whole team. We'll Blade.
There you go.
You can buy the whole team. Blade, Laser, Blazer. It'll be in one of those like discount packs because they're all the same.
Yeah. They're all
What about
the same.
Romanovia's best?
Franz
You have to
Zananaskevich, Bedavinsky.
You have to have like a conga line style emote.
Yes.
Of like when they come
Bing
out,
bong.
the dance when they come out. You have to have that.
I mean,
If you can't
Well,
come out with that, then what are you
they have
doing?
that emote's already in there.
Oh, it is?
So that's what Brad was doing the other night.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
I hit my mic like a do. But yeah,
Never mind.
Yeah.
I got to get it.
that is
that's the Purple Cobra's emote.
That's the Purple Cobra's. Yeah.
That's the one. Awesome. Well, good question there from Epic Capture Productions. And I mean, listen, it's a great topic, and it's always fun when this kind of stuff pops up because it definitely sparks a fun conversation despite it not being real. And I'm sure Nintendo sees this stuff. I'm sure Fortnite sees this stuff. I'm sure Fortnite is a lot more willing to go to the negotiating table. But like Caitlin just said, we need a QTB and Fortnite crossover at the end of the day.
Ooh,
that's the end game, folks. That's when
question,
you know.
chat. Who you playing as? You playing as Nick? You playing as Bruno? Or you playing as your boy? That's what I want to know.
They're gonna play as Kirby Ball or Dale. Come on.
Oh, you would have a Kirby Ball back bling, Nick. I totally see it. Like this would be
You would
That's
have
the
incredible.
Nintendo crossover.
And then
we're gonna be the bridge.
and then Bruno's gonna have an Arnie Palmy back bling. I totally see it. I'm just,
Yes.
you know what I mean? He doesn't drink Slurp juice to
I love
shield
that.
up. He drinks an Arnie Palmy.
Of course. Oh my gosh, I would spread that on a cracker. Are you kidding me?
Meow.
All right, guys. He said the thing. Well, guys, another big story to get to.
What
But
it did.
first of all, I have a huge announcement. We have announced this on our Discord, and you probably heard about it on our live streams. But that is that, of course, QTB has partnered with advanced.gg, guys. And we are so excited about this because I've got some amazing product right here, the strawberry lemonade. Focus, very good stuff, guys. Advanced.gg offers powders, supplements, and even canned drinks with the first ever clinically proven ingredient that improves mental performance when gaming. What I like about these guys is that the energy blend in all of their products, you're going to get up to 6 hours of energy with focus and no crash. That's the important thing. You're not going to be, needing to nap down the road. It's very much a sustained energy burst. I can definitely attest to that. No fillers or chalky aftertaste. It quickens your decision making and focuses your gaming skills. It's going to make you more better at gaming, and that's what we all want to be at the end of the day, is more better. And also, there's no proprietary blends that hide ingredients. Everything that you see is right there. It's on the label. There's no mystery ingredients in this thing. You know what you're going to get. And so many delicious flavors to choose from. I got the strawberry lemonade, but Brad, you've been taste testing over there on your end too. What'd you get, man?
So I picked up 2 of the cans. I got the original and the frostberry. I got the 12-pack of the cans, and I have to tell you, man, these are incredible. Both my wife and I love them. As you said, fantastic blend of flavors. Very natural. Does not taste like a premium energy supplement. Great rise in energy, focus. I mean, I'm going to start my day with one tomorrow before I head to work. So I'm telling you, check out advanced.gg. Check them out. Fantastic flavors and shakers. I mean, they've got everything you need to enhance your gaming experience.
It's good stuff, and we have that exclusive promo code. If you use QTB10 at checkout, they're going to knock 10% off that price just for being a fan of Quit the Build. Great way to get some great products, guys, all around, and a great way to support us here at Quit the Build as well. So thanks to our new friends and partners over at advanced.gg. Love it. Great announcement there. and tasty stuff. You see
telling
me
you, Nick,
sipping on it all the time on the streams,
It's
man.
been helping you with the streams, man. I've been watching you. That bow.
Focus.
With that
Have
bow.
you seen the bow shots? That is brought to you by Advanced.gg.
I mean, look,
those bow
our
plays.
QTB's Hawkeye over here. I'm just saying. Took a dude off of a bike. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. Like,
Every time he says it, I think you're saying hot guy.
well, both. Okay, Hawkeye.
You're hot guy, Hawkeye.
It's a marketing issue for Hawkeye, honestly.
It really is.
Or was
really
it
is.
strategic?
To be fair, though, Jeremy Renner is a hot guy, so I mean,
he is.
Yeah.
And
kind of a
he's
green boat.
sleeveless. He doesn't need sleeves. He's
No
unencumbered.
No sleeve. Unencumbered.
That's how you aim. That's how you get that good aim.
Yep.
Speaking of being unencumbered, one of the most important things and an important topic right now in gaming is accessibility, and for gamers of all ability levels, physically, to be unencumbered when they are gaming. So, a great word there to kind of take us into our next story. This is coming from the actual PlayStation blog. Yeah, where the Project Leonardo was unveiled recently for the PlayStation 5. It's a highly customizable accessibility controller kit. This was unveiled at, I believe, CES. There was a quick presentation given by PlayStation, and boy, you hear that sound, and it evokes a lot of feelings for a lot of people. But, one thing that we have seen in the console, wars unofficially, is that, Xbox was first out of the gate with the concept of an adaptive controller, right? That has all sorts of extra things you can plug in and basically game the way that you need to work around any kind of physical disabilities that you may have. And it's a beautiful thing, and it's been so well received. They even had that Super Bowl ad that ran, I believe it was last year, that they went all in on the concept of the adaptive controller, and it's been just the best press and then just the best concept. And so now we do see Sony finally kind of catching up to that with this announcement. And as of right now, no release date in sight. They're just letting us know, here's the concept. It's on its way. No price point either. This thing looks, I don't even know how to, it looks like a super niche, like rhythm game controller that you could only use for like one game and you would never use it for anything else. I mean, Bruno, when you see this thing, like, what was your first impression of it?
I thought it looked really cool. And I think that, honestly think that PlayStation's approach to this is a multifaceted usage for the controller. They want people, obviously they're creating this with disability in mind, but I think they're also doing the PlayStation thing, which is, how can we sell this to normal, everyday gamers? I don't want to say normal, but everyday gamers, right? Who wouldn't benefit from this controller specifically, right? Like I don't benefit from the accessibility controller that Xbox has. But someone else might, who has a specific disability. I don't think that's necessarily the route that PlayStation's going down. I think they kind of are thinking of it like, how can we double dip? How can we make something that's somewhat accessible to people who might need or get usage out of this controller? And how can we make it interesting for people who play a specific type of game and would rather have those types of inputs, perhaps like a fighting game? And I think that arcade pads are one of the first thing I think of in regards to that, or even something like a mech game, where you've got multiple controls that you really need to have dexterity with. I can totally see, the average gamer, right? Picking this peripheral up if the game suits them. If there's a game out there that suits them for that. I know Brad's shaking his head and he's going to give me the reason why not. But, I think I'm glad to see something like this. And like I said, to me, I don't know what I would use it for, Nick, but it was interesting to me because I thought my first thought was like going back, like, I think of all the other games that I've, played. What games could benefit from this style of play? And, rhythm games are a great example of that. It would be much easier to play a keyboard with something like that, or, it would just be a great challenge in general to have to use something that looks like this, clock essentially. Brad, what are your thoughts on this? Obviously, you don't agree with the average gamer picking something like this up
because
do you think it's a good design?
Well, I'll put the design to the side. It's intent, right? When you have scope creep, when you water down or you try to over design or over scope your audience, you lose its intent for its initial purpose. And that's what I'm hearing from you is you're saying, well, I'm an average gamer. I could use that for something. Then all of a sudden game designers are going to start doing that instead of actually designing it and leveraging it to make it more accessible for those who can't already use the controller that's been put out. And so that's my fear, is that it should be the sole intent of these should be to expand the availability and accessibility of these games to others who cannot use the base controller. And so I actually feel that it would be a disservice in some ways to then also release functionality for it to make certain games semi-dependent on using that as well, because then what does that do for those who can't use the normal controller and that together? It makes that game not accessible again. So
well, and I think to your point, I think that, and I want to hear your thoughts on this as well, because we haven't seen a price point. Now, the accessibility controller on Xbox's end is $100, which I think is a pretty fair price considering what you're getting, right? Considering that it is a little bit bigger piece of hardware. The average controller is about $60. So, this is the size of a keyboard, right? 2 huge buttons on it and tons of different peripherals in which you can kind of plug into it. I would be very hesitant to say that this is going to be $100 price point. Nick said he thought it might be $150, which I think is about right. I think that's probably what they're seeing. Now, with that in mind, is that truly accessibility? Is it accessibility if you're creating?
You're stealing my next point.
That's at such a high price point. Because you know what I mean? Like, accessibility doesn't just mean like, oh yeah, we're giving you something that you can use. If the peripheral costs an arm and a leg and you don't have an arm and a leg, Brad, obviously there's a problem.
So here's how I would counter that. Yes, I feel like if you're paying that much for a single controller, regardless of the technology or functionality you're getting that enables you to have access to those games, I think what console platforms should do is that at initial purchase of a console, you have the choice that most consoles come with a controller. Well, allow that to be customized to either buy a normal controller or an accessible controller based off of your needs. And that way, everyone at the beginning of when they buy a new console is given the controller they need to play games and be successful.
But Brad, just as well as I do that the consumer in you would look at it and say, okay, the accessibility controller
is more expensive.
Is $150. It's more expensive. I'm going to add that to my order and then buy a $60 controller or $70, $80 controller, at half the cost of this and maybe sell it. You know what I mean? Like that, there's no way that
there's always Bruno, there's always third-party economics that play into any industry in any market, right? Yeah. I think what I'm trying to focus on here is the intent of accessibility for gamers who don't have it. And you would think at some point that even just like the Game Pass was the first to come out and now PlayStation's modeled their own version of that at a similar cost structure. It's not far-fetched to think that it's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of $100, maybe a bit more, because if it's too far beyond that, then everyone's going to say, well, if I want an accessible console, I'm going to go to Xbox where it's more affordable to do that, right? So you have to think that just by supply and demand and competitive advantage, it can't be priced that much more. And at the end of the day, this is a great PR move by these companies. Make an accessible controller at an accessible price to allow those folks to play. And if you make it super expensive, then you're just doing yourself and you're just now narrowing your consumer base. So I'm really not looking at the cost side of it. Like, I'm the cost guy. I always ask that question first. This is the first time I'm going to say, hey, let's think about the intent and the real purpose of these controllers and what value that would bring beyond monetary value to the industry and to widening and making gaming truly something that everyone can enjoy. And that's my intent with this, is to say, hey, let's not make this a dual design, have it be also used by average gamers. Let's try to find a fair price and make it something that is successful. Because the last thing we want is then to put out something and then it flop. Right, Nick?
No, I completely agree. I'm saying, my point is, I think that's the route they should go. I think that's the route that Xbox did. Now, Nick shared something very interesting with us in the pre-show, which is basically that Xbox was initially going to cut the accessibility controller, right, Nick?
Yeah, when I was doing some research for the show, I was surprised when that popped up. And the story essentially alluded to the fact that 2021 was a tough year for many companies, right? Supply chain issues. We were still very much in the peak of the semiconductor chips, right? Having a shortage still is a problem, but it was a bigger problem then. And with budget cuts on the line, this article was essentially with someone that was working in Xbox at the time, saying they were ready to cut. Like Microsoft Teams, they were ready to cut a couple things, and one of those things was going to be the adaptive controller for the Xbox. What ends up happening is that the base level, the people actually working on this stuff, right, on the people that make the donuts, as they say, got together and said, let's try and talk them out of this. And they pleaded their case. You also sent me an article, Bruno, talking about that quote where they pointed out there's 400 million gamers that have some sort of physical disability that makes it harder for them to play games in some way. And so I think that, and that's one of the things that I really respect about Microsoft, is that they can pivot and they listen to their people. Like that really preaches to the culture of Microsoft, that executives will listen to the people that actually can see what's happening and understand what's important. And I'm not bashing executives, but at the end of the day, they're going to make a couple high value decisions, and that's what they do. So
well, and to your point about that, I think their pivot in terms of marketing surrounding the entire controller proves that they were listening to the employees who were making this, because obviously they floated them some of those numbers, right, that we see. And then they did entire commercials and stuff surrounding that. So obviously they changed the minds of the executives up there. Now, to PlayStation and Brad's point, I would hope that their sole purpose is to bring accessibility to those who need it, right? That's our whole goal here at Quit the Build in general, is to make sure that everyone feels included in gaming. We don't have that toxic attitude, that you see with a lot of other gamers who are constantly yelling at the screen. Like, I don't want my son to end up on a Dr. Phil episode about how video games are ruining the youth and all that kind of stuff. Like, I want him to really take what we practice and preach and put it to use, right? That gaming should be fun and open to everyone. However, I don't know that that's ever been PlayStation's goal. And the article I shared with you, basically said that it came out in November, and it interviewed several gamers with disabilities, and they basically said, we've been used to this for several game cycles now, because there's been nothing for PlayStation, nothing for PlayStation 2, nothing for PlayStation 3, nothing for PlayStation 4.
Right.
It's about time. It's about time is what we're hearing from the community.
But to kind of bring it back full circle to what we said earlier, at least PlayStation's finally doing something, because it seems like they're second still in the race, right? Microsoft was the first. Now, finally, Sony's doing something. Nintendo still hasn't done anything, right? We joked earlier about them arguing or spinning it that their Joy-Cons are already accessible, but But
It is accessible. Hello.
we tend to knock Sony and PlayStation quite a bit at times on this. We're definitely a bit biased, at least on my side. I'm a Xbox fan through and through. But I have to give credit where credit's due. Whether you want to call it late to the game, second in the race, whatever, this is at least an attempt by PlayStation to bring something that is going to be in the same realm of what Microsoft and Xbox have put out, and is leaving Nintendo now to be a standalone where they've done nothing in this category.
Here's the thing, is that you can go as far back as like 2010, when there was a third party that made the concept of an accessibility controller, okay? They did that, and it never got any traction beyond maybe a niche audience. I don't even know if it came to market. It wasn't until 2018 that Microsoft actually created an official Xbox controller for gamers. So you're talking about the Xbox One era and beyond. Whereas before that, it wasn't even a thing in the mind of these companies. It's the thing to talk about right now. It's the topic, is how do you make gaming accessible to everyone? And you're right, Bruno. That's a big deal for us in terms of the way that we treat other people, and create an inclusive environment, right? As you said, inclusive, not exclusive. But that's also the thing about Sony, is that when you are buying into a PlayStation, you're making that investment. You already know what you're getting into before you ever need or have the idea of purchasing an adaptive controller, which is that you're going to pay more for things. You're going to be in a different ecosystem that charges you more for things a la carte. And at the end of the day, you know that whatever you get is going to be a little bit pricier than if you had got it from the other guys. You look at the new the DualSense Edge that was just announced, and that's going to be a price point of around $200. Not going to have a lot of the features that you would see like with an Xbox Elite controller as a comparison point. So that higher price point just comes with the territory. And I will give them some credit here, because there are some innovations that they are offering with this controller that I'm not seeing with the Xbox version. What I like about the Xbox version is it comes bundled with a million different little buttons and switches and different ways that you can do just about anything from any configuration. It's amazing what they thought of. But also Sony has some pretty cool ideas here, even though the actual device is kind of its own little thing. Like you said, almost looks like an arcade joypad. It can be tethered to things. You can configure a lot of little things. What I love about it is that you can also connect another controller and let that be assigned to the same controller slot. So if you want to play with a controller but only use the Project Leonardo controller for certain inputs, maybe with your feet or whatever, or you can have a friend or a family member also take control of that and assist the player. That's a cool idea, too, for gamers that like the idea of gaming. You're trying to get somebody into gaming, but you don't want to quite give them the full range because they're not ready for it. They just want to push certain buttons.
I'm not trying to throw shade at the design, but it looks like Tapple. Mm-hmm. It kind of looks like Tapple, the board game Tapple, a little bit.
What's that?
You guys have never seen board game Tapple?
Google it. Tapple. We're Googling Tapple, guys, real time.
What?
Oh, yeah, it does. Oh, my gosh. What the heck is this, Brad?
You've never heard of Tapple?
Well, Milton Bradley does have the word Brad in it, so it's not surprising.
So Tapple is a game where you draw a category and you start the timer, and you have to name something in that category with those letters. And once you name it using that letter, you push the letter down, and then it can't be used again in the round. And as the letters start to dwindle, it gets harder to. And if you can't name it and the timer stops, you lose the round. So that it just reminded me of the board game Tapple. It looks very much the way you can press a lot of the different buttons around in a circle. Kind of that design seems similar. So I know there's going to be a buttload more customization than Tapple, but yeah, I can see kind of some similarities there. And
they do have the ports on the PlayStation on this controller where you'll be able to plug in. They won't sell them, but you can buy like third-party switches. There's all basically, on-off 1-0 switches that can be assigned to any specific button press. So there is a lot of a positive direction they're heading in. It's just, and also, Sony, the last point I'll make is Sony has invested a lot in the concept of the DualSense, right? That idea of a controller that has haptic feedback. So much so that many of their star games often, promote how cool it is to be able to, feel things with the triggers and the way that it responds with vibrations and other things. So, I mean, it's, and in that article that you had linked, Bruno, kind of talked about that many of these gamers feel alienated, that they're trying to trend in that direction with the controller, that if you can't hold it, even with this new system they're coming out with, you're still going to end up with a with a subpar experience or missing out on certain aspects of what they want to be the game literal feel. So there's a lot of different perspectives here. I think the one thing we can all agree on is Nintendo. Where you at? You know,
really.
Where are you at? We know you're not gonna do it. I hate to say that, but you should.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I heard through the grapevine that Xbox is actually working on a haptic feedback controller for their next controller. So I expect we will probably see something like that in the future. And Nick, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about a lot of the developers. Despite there being accessibility for gamers who need it, it still comes down to the developers to allow those types of controllers and customization to be done within the game. If you're making a game in 2022, 2023 now, you caught me, then you don't have a, press to bind function for all of your controllers to be able to completely change it to how you want it, then it doesn't matter what type of controller comes out, right? Like, it's not going to be able to be used by everyone. And I think that's the easiest thing. PC games have done it for years, right? You load anything and you can change the controls automatically, right from the start. So definitely is something that we're going to need to see more of from Nintendo, and more from developers who continue to try and stretch the capabilities of basically joining gamers together, disability or not. I mean, we're talking colorblind modes, and what there was the recent PlayStation game that actually had sign language. So, despite PlayStation coming in second to the peripheral game, which is very unlike PlayStation, they were first to the game in that aspect of creating some type of accessibility for hearing impaired gamers. And I think that we're trending on that road. And I think soon enough, people will be joining the QTB community and realizing, Nick, we got it all. Tell them about it.
Well, Bruno, you're talking about peripherals, and I've got something in my peripheral vision right here, which is quitthebuild.com. It's an amazing website, y'all. Have you been there yet? We got blog articles. We've got our amazing QTB network. And, of course, we got our merch page. You got to get in there, get the t-shirts, get the pop sockets, get the pillows, get yourself some squad swag, show it off, on our Discord and beyond. We love that stuff. And a new addition on our website. If you go to our community page, quitthebuild.com/community, scroll down to the bottom because we got a little something there for you. It's those official QTB profile pictures. If you want to have rock a QTB Quit the Build profile picture to show your support and that you are all about positivity, inclusivity, and having fun in games, go get one of those profiles. We got a whole different designs to choose from. You can add it to your profile on Discord, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is, or use it as part of a template. We have people that have been putting themselves or putting other things in front of the image. So go check it out today at quitthebuild.com. There you go. Wow. What do you think, Brad?
Brad literally just dropped off the call.
It's the worst possible timing.
Oh my gosh. Nope. We're cutting even though he's back. It doesn't matter because it's not going to get better than that. For Nick and Brad, I'm Bruno.
For Bruno and Brad, I'm Nick.
I guess he doesn't have a mic. That's Brad. Peace out. What a deal.
Oh my gosh. That was so funny. Oh man, I tell you what, that was so funny. I forgot to give the Patreon reads. By the way, thank you so much to our Patreon supporters, like our QTB and Fuego supporters, Epic Capture Productions, Matt.Bat, Alexa, Caitlin, Josh, Courtney, Megan, and our QTB Plus supporters, Nick, the Dudus Monk, Indie Gamiacs, Alan Abadessa, Mr. Grove Games, the Intergalactic Pinecone, Fluffy Bunny, and Terry the Kitten. Guys, if you'd like to support us, a great way to do it is Patreon. at patreon.com/quitthebuild. QTB Nights recording coming up this Monday. You don't want to miss it, okay? Because the PM is where we do the DMs. Direct messages? It's not really. No. I don't know. We got to work on that one. We're still rolling. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here on QTV. I should hit the button. There it is.
Quit the Build.